I think one of the most fundamental is the increased acceptance of the lockbox structure. This is the lockbox which effectively sets the purchase price by reference to a historic date and is much more seller friendly. And what we've seen is that that type of technique is used much more broadly across Europe as a whole. It used to be somewhat the confines of perhaps Germany, the UK, and the Netherlands perhaps within Europe. But now we're seeing that it's used very broadly across Central and Eastern Europe, for instance, France for sure. And what that means is that of the transactions where there is no purchase price adjustment, lockbox is being used in 40% of cases or so, and that's pretty well the same percentage across all the jurisdictions. So that sort of acceptance of that fundamental technique in structuring deals and the smoothing out of it across Europe, I think, is a significant development. We've also seen issues which are, I think, show that there is a greater acceptance of risk, if you want, by purchaser, a greater sort of comfort about the market as it presently is. We see that in them allowing sellers to negotiate shorter warranty limitation periods. 12 to 18 months seems to be the most popular. You know, a year ago it was 18 to 24. We see it in the fact that when people are looking for earn-outs, they're prepared to negotiate longer earn-out periods, which means that the seller thinks they're going to get more value over a longer period, and the purchaser is happy to see that investment by the seller. And we're seeing it in areas like security for warranty claims, where purchasers are taking less security than they were a year ago in terms of escrows and holdbacks. So all of those, I think, are features in a slightly more dynamic market, reflecting the economic recovery we're seeing in Europe. In a way, the biggest trend is the fact that there isn't more convergence between Europe and US market practice, and it remains a characteristic that despite the many US players in the European market, the deal practice does diverge, and you get that in a number of different ways, different ways of formulating liability caps, baskets and availability of small claims. Those are all done in a slightly different way in the US market, which is not reflected at all in Europe. So to give you one small example, liability caps for US M&A is generally less than 25%. Our stats show that 87% of deals in the US have a seller which accepts a liability cap going forward of less than 25%. The equivalent in Europe is 34%. Material adverse change clauses, 94% of US deals have them. In Europe, it's a much smaller proportion, 14% of all deals and 30% of those with where it's relevant, with a gap between signing and closing. So those issues, those differences continue to apply. And we still find, even with very sophisticated US purchasers, that they do have some concerns about deal structure and risk allocation in Europe. I think you see more confidence in the UK market. I think there's been a greater standardisation of deals. I think people are more and more familiar with lockbox techniques, more and more familiar with the use of warranty and indemnity insurance to get them around the warranty gap. You're seeing by and large, shorter limitation periods, and you're getting, which isn't covered by our study, but it's certainly a fact, is much more focused and informed diligence, and clients are being very focused on what they want their advisors to do. So all the basics are there for quicker deals, and we're expecting and seeing them now, and expecting them during the course of this year to see a much greater deal flow in the mid to upper market.